So today's webinar, Design Your Career Step by Step, is actually a continuation of the previous webinars that Naomi, my colleague, has started this year. And she started on the first one. The first topic was about how to evaluate your skill set, and then the job search strategy. And today's webinar is how to design a career plan. So thank you all for joining and for taking the time. We have selected to run the webinars during this time because a lot of people were not able to take them on in the afternoon, so we said probably we'll try it out to run them during lunch break. So that was one of the main idea of running the webinars at lunchtime. So can you hear me? If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Today's agenda would start with the introduction and how to create a plan for your career. It will start with reflection and then defining a plan of action. And then there will be resources and further readings. I'm just curious, I haven't seen anyone writing back to me in the chat box if you can hear me. So can you hear me okay? Should I just proceed? I'm assuming that you can all hear me now. Just wait a couple of minutes. So having a career plan or planning your career is vital for your career success. The most successful people, such as Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg or Tim Ferriss, all regularly come up with plans for their career success. And look where they are now. Career planning is not something that you do once and then forget. Considering that research has found that the average worker will change careers, not jobs, but careers, 5 to 7 times in their lifetime, this makes career planning an activity that you should do at least once a year. And in order to succeed in constantly changing workplace requires a career management plan. Employers always want to attract and to hire and to retain employees who provide the best value. So when designing your career plan, think about yourself as a business with a product to sell and create a strategy for marketing your value in the workplace. And taking an active role in shaping your professional path, whether that means reflecting on your decisions or making minor tweaks to an existing role, or even finding a new job altogether, is really important for career happiness and fulfillment. So actively planning your career allows you to take control and to groom yourself for your next step. Plus, a career plan will help you navigate which lateral moves to make, milestones to aim for, and sequential promotions to approach all the way to get your job. Yet, many of us give very little thought to being an active architect or designer of our own careers for many reasons. Perhaps one of these can be scary to contemplate and implement changes. We all like to sit in our comfort zone. But change is really natural and is even a required part of a healthy career life cycle. And it all begins with reflection. And I know that if you've attended my previous webinar, I spoke a lot about reflection and how important it is to reflect on what we've done, to reflect on what we're doing now, and to contemplate or think about where we want to go next. So the first step you can take right now is to develop a successful career plan that starts with reflection. It's easy to neglect reflecting on your career, especially when you're busy chugging along in our daily lives. We just, want to go home and sit and relax and just not do anything. But taking the time to think about your current situation and the path you want to be on is crucial to a productive career plan. Research even shows reflection is key to success, and it increases the productivity and your performance. So a good way to proactively design your career is to regularly reflect on where you want to go. where you're heading. So one of my favorite career design quotes, and it's by an anonymous author, is ask yourself if what you're doing today is getting you closer to where you want to be tomorrow. And this is a great question to come back to over and over again in order to determine whether you need to make adjustments to the path that you're leading. And in the long term, perhaps a propensity for personal and professional reflection may allow you to forge a path that is more true to who you are or to what you want to be in the near future. So besides reflecting on your career path, you should also reflect on yourself and your values, your skills, and your passions. And when you begin to understand yourself and what you really want, you'll be able to more easily create a plan that suits your goals and your lifestyle. So identify your career options and develop a refined list of career options by examining your interests, skills, and values through self-assessment. And I like to talk a lot about self-assessments because the first step to change is really to be self-aware, to know who you are, to know what you like, what you don't like. And there are plenty of self-assessment tools that can help you with this. So narrow down your career options by reviewing career information, by researching companies, and talking to professionals in the field. You can also further narrow your list of professionals that you want to when you take part in informational interviews. And I'm going to go to that later on. But it's not enough to list options of where you want to go. You have to also prioritize. So what are your top skills? What interests you most? What is most important to you? Whether it's intellectually challenging work, whether it's family-friendly benefits, whether it's the right location, or do you want to move on to somewhere else? Whether it's a big paycheck, it's about the money and nothing else. So really, it helps to know what matters to you and what's a deal breaker to you, what's important to you. And you should also consider factors beyond personal preference. So what is the current demand for this field? Let's say you work in fashion and retail and you want to move into pharma. What is the current demand for someone like you in this field? If the demand is low or entry is difficult, are you comfortable with the risk? What qualifications are you required to enter the field? And especially if you thinking about entering into a whole new field which you don't have experience in. So will this require additional education or training? How will selecting this option affect you and others in your life? You also need to think about that. And you need to gather advice from friends, colleagues, family, and members. So consider potential outcomes and barriers for each of your final options. And I like this, if you take a look at this slide, and I kept it for a minute because I would like you to go through these set of questions. These questions will allow you to reflect on what you want most in a job, as well as what you like and dislike about your current job. It will also enable you to identify specific changes that you would like to see and to consider your longer-term career goals and how to reach them. And in general, one way to know about yourself is through taking self-assessments. So I'm going to go to the next slide, but then come back to this one again. So there are some career self-assessment tools, such as the ONET, which is a free tool which you can use. There's the MAP career test, and there are other platforms like the Nodal Career Values Online, which is it requires a small fee. But also, if you go to our careers platform, which is Simplicity, there will be some tools which you will have access to. So make sure to access the platform and to register if you have not registered. In the final slide, I will share details how to do that. So know thyself. All starts with knowing yourself. So take these self-assessment tools and then ask yourself these questions. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to go through these questions. And what I really want you to do is sit down honestly, try to answer these questions and write them down and see what you want to change and what you would like to make amendments or adjustments to. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to go through this. So again, these questions will help you to reassess or reevaluate where you are now and where you would like to go. And also self-reflection will lead you to identifying what kind of career you want. And now it's the time to figure out how to get there. So part of the job search strategy is really to increase the probability of finding a job or landing a promotion. And this really starts with goal setting. And we talked about goals in the previous webinar. We talked about SMART goals. So setting goals is the key to a successful career plan. But what kind of goals should you create? I would recommend SMART goals. In fact, studies show that SMART goals really do work. But in order to be successful, you need to write them down and share them with a friend or a co-worker or someone who will hold you accountable for them. 76% of study participants who set SMART goals wrote them down and shared them with a friend or a colleague and helped them achieve their goals. So they were able to achieve their goals after they wrote them down and after they had someone, follow up with them on their career goals and how they're moving towards them. So sharing your goals creates a sense of accountability, and writing down your goals cements them in your long-term memory. And so talking from a neuroscience perspective, if they're imprinted in your long-term memory, they're always accessible to you and they're locked in your subconscious. So you know that you need to follow them and you need to get there. And for those of you who don't know what SMART goal setting is, it really begins with identifying specific time-bound goals and steps to accomplish your plan. But remember, set short-term goals to be achieved in 1 year or less, and long-term goals to be achieved in 1 to 5 years. So SMART goals, so S in SMART stands for specific. So identify your goal clearly and specifically. What is it that you want? So if you want to move in within your organization into a more senior level, director level, or whatever, just have it be specific about it and write it down. Measurable, M in SMART stands for measurable, so include clear criteria to determine the progress and the accomplishments. So what are you going to do about your goal moving into a director position? So set weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly goals, and check with yourselves on your progress. A in SMART refers to attainable. So you make sure that the goal should have about 50% or greater chance of success. So, and this is something that I would like to speak about because a lot of people that I speak with, they set goals which are somehow unrealistic or unattainable. Like, for instance, someone who's in a junior position, technical position, wants to become a manager in a Big Four consulting firm. It doesn't work that way. You need to build, your goal needs to be attainable. It needs to be built up towards it. It needs to be something that can be achieved. Yes, that might be your long-term goal to work in one of the Big Four firms, but you need to build your experience, your knowledge, and everything to work towards that goal. So setting goals, attainable, something that you can achieve, and relevant. R in SMART refers to relevant. The goal is important to you and it really motivates you to work towards it. And all these goals need to be time bound. So you need to commit to a specific time frame. So when creating your career plan, it's important to be realistic about the expectations and the timelines. So you cannot set a goal that I want to be a director in 30 days. Yes, it could happen to some people, but I mean, realistically, we don't know the odds how that is going to happen. So that you don't get disappointed, make sure that you are realistic. Write down specific action steps to take to achieve your goals and help yourself stay organized. So check them off as you complete them, but feel free to amend your career action plan as needed if things are not working your way. So you should have flexibility. Your goals and priorities may change, and that is perfectly okay. So we spoke about the career goals, and so setting your goals, SMART goals. The second step would be to research the market. So researching the market is a huge part of career planning. And researching the market and shifting our mindset from really finding a job via the traditional online portals and job boards and thinking about finding a job from a different perspective. Now it's time to really think differently and dig into developing a plan which will really get you somewhere where you want to go. So a career plan lists, as I said, lists short and long-term goals and the actions you take to achieve them when you're considering, career path or jobs, or whether you want to really change industry or companies that you wish to explore. Maybe you want to get some more experience before you put yourself out there in the target job market, or maybe it just comes down to a choice between two different careers. Researching the market is really important to understand what decision you need to make. And it starts with where you are now. Which industry are you in? Which role? Which type of work do you do? And where do you want to go? When and where do you want to go? So start researching the market, researching the companies, researching the industry altogether, and the positions that you aspire to be in. And what you need to do is research your competition. People who are sitting in these positions, what do they have? What are their skills? What is their knowledge? What is their credentials? And you need to know that they're not only, you need to understand how to benchmark yourself in order to be able to identify if you're missing on knowledge, qualification, experience, so that you're able to bridge that gap. And list all your skills, whether you have soft skills, so identifying your strengths, identifying your weaknesses, what are the things that you need to work on. Look at your hard skills as well. What is it that you have? Is it that you're an expert in artificial intelligence, digital literacy, you have an MBA, and look at what interests you. So if you really want to make a career change and it's not something that is so urgent and you need to find a job right now, try to research where you want to go, somewhere that motivates you, a company that you follow and that you like their ethics and you like their values. And it's nice to work in a company, and it's fulfilling actually to work in a company where their values align with yours. Because if you're working in an environment where it clashes with your own values, it's going to drain you. We spend more than one third or approximately half of our day doing our jobs. So if we're doing something which clashes with our values, which doesn't interest us, it's going to drain us, and we're going to leave soon. So try to find something that you really like, passionate about, and that aligns with your values. And identify the industries that you like to move on. So let's say if you're in retail and you want to move into oil and gas or construction, try to identify the industry, research it, the companies that are there, and try to learn more about them. Make a list of the pros and cons in every single industry. What do you like about this? What you don't like? And evaluate them. And then think of the consequences about these. Self-assessment, as I said, is really important previously. So knowing your skills, knowing what you like and what you don't like, knowing your values, this helps when you want to make your decision to move into an industry or into another job. Third is develop your brand. So developing your brand, it's all about how you market yourself. It's all about your personal brand. And we, just like any other product, we need to market ourselves. And the best people are the people who are able to brand themselves correctly and promote themselves to the other party, which is if you're a job seeker, to the employer, if you're an entrepreneur, to the market. So create your own self-marketing tool and identify your unique value proposition, which is what sets you apart from your competition, what you're good at. And consider this when you're really creating your CV or you're building your online presence. Start by Googling yourself. So Google yourself, right? Type in your name in the Google search and see what comes up. Does it really reflect who you are? Does it really reflect your skills? Does it reflect your knowledge? Is it really the true representation of your learning, your experience, and your skills? And if it's not, then you need to do something about it. You need to start fixing it. So your LinkedIn or your online social sites, the first one I would like to talk about is LinkedIn, because it's the professional networking platform and everybody really focuses on LinkedIn. So make sure that you list all your skills, all your knowledge, and try to have a professional photo. Again, social media platforms are really important: Facebook, Instagram, the rest. And recruiters nowadays, they do look you up on all these media platforms. And I speak to a lot of recruiters, and that's what they tell us. They don't want to see a mismatch between your LinkedIn identity and your Facebook identity. So if you have a professional LinkedIn identity and your Facebook shows that you're someone who's really adventurous and does those unaligned things with which you're saying in your LinkedIn profile, so try to make these either private, put them on a private mode, only share with friends. But if they're public, please try to make sure that what you're showing on your social media platforms are aligned all together with your LinkedIn, and they're telling the true story of you. So how do you really want the world to see you is really important. Next, we move on to your network. And building a network will help you really find your opportunities. And I know that we speak a lot about networking and finding, your jobs through networking, because networking is so valuable. And in this part of the world is so, finding a job really takes a big part of your network. So if you know the right people and the right people in the right jobs, they would be a valuable asset for you in finding your next move or your next opportunity. And networking begins with the people you already know. So it's your network, your contacts, your alumni, and also it's your extended network through the referrals that you get from first level network. So if you know of a job where you have contacts, you can start to ask people for connections. And I'd like to give here a few tips on networking. So the first one I would like to talk about is don't rely only on online search mode completely. So if you have a network, don't just, oh, I know this person, he connected with me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, I'm going to reach out. You will need to go get out there. You will need to go attend events. You will need to go attend conferences. So let's say if you want to move from retail into the pharma industry, so you need to go and attend more events in the pharma industry. You need to talk to these people inside the company. If networking is hard for you, try to reframe it. Try to think of it from a different perspective. Picture it as if you are asking for directions. So if you're in the street in a foreign country and you want to know how to get from point A to point B, you will not hesitate to ask someone for directions. And similarly here in networking, people like to help one another. So if you go there and ask for help, there's nothing wrong with that. And people like to help one another. And asking for help in a professional context is acceptable. And networking really starts with curiosity. And curiosity to learn more about the person that you're speaking to, the organization, or the type or the industry that they're in, and the type of work. And people like to talk about themselves. Yeah. So be more curious when you are in a networking and try to treat it in that manner. And get informational interviews. Informational interviewing is a powerful tool to help you learn more about different opportunities that you could be interested in. And also it gets you the inside perspective. May even connect you with opportunities you could not see from the outside. And a key to a successful informational interview is also, as I said, curiosity. Ask questions to know more. always, one thing sometimes we find when people network is that they ask questions which are irrelevant. They ask questions which are forceful. So change this a bit. Ask with curiosity and always try to use the open-end questions, the probing questions, like how can I know more about this? I wonder what would someone like you in this position give advice to someone like me about this industry? So curiosity, gain insight. And your curiosity will also lead you to authentic conversations. So ask good questions which are valuable to the interviewer and that reflect yourself and your brand. Also, you will give the interviewer an opportunity to talk about themselves and their work, and people like to talk about themselves, and they like to talk about what they're doing, they like to talk about their work and what they're passionate about. So I want to give you a few tips on when you get an informational interview. So the first thing that you should do is do your homework. Research your interviewer. Learn more about them. Learn more about their companies. Learn more about what they like, what they don't like. Look them up on Google. Look them up on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Try to learn more. So when you get there, you have a background about them. So if they play golf, you can start by talking about a golf tournament that is happening or something that connects you. So find that connection. And next, when you're asking for an informational interview, try to ask for a face-to-face coffee or try to meet in person. It's the best thing. But if it doesn't happen, chat over the phone is also okay. If you get to meet in person, please buy their coffee and their lunch or whatever you're treating them to. They're giving you their free time, so pay for their coffee to show appreciation. And also ask the interviewer, who else would they recommend that you talk to? They may be willing to connect you to some people in the industry. And after the interview, please send a thank you note. It's always nice to send a thank you. Thank you for meeting up for the coffee, for the free time. And that is really helpful. Do we have any questions so far? If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Because otherwise I feel I'm speaking to myself. So when researching the industry, I'd like you to look at this. So target list for companies. If you have created a target list for the companies that you'd like to move on to, items to include on this Excel sheet would be the name of the organization, their mission, the services or products offered, the latest news or initiatives, and what are you interested in this company? What are the types of positions that you would like to move on? What is your value proposition? So what are your strengths? What are your skills? How do you stand out? And do you know any people in this organization? Do you know someone who could refer you? And if you know someone, how did you meet and when? Do you have their email, their phone? If you put in this information in an Excel sheet and try to build it up, this will speed up your search process and it will make it more organized. So next, moving on to the next slide, which is matching your CV. So I want to talk about, let's say you find that job, okay? What you want to do is match your CV and cover letter to the requirements of the hiring manager. So quite often we see people have one CV and they use this one CV to every single job that they apply to. This is wrong. So we should have one master CV that includes everything that we do, but whatever we submit our CV to a specific job description or a role, we should tailor it. It should match whatever that the job description says for that position. So that should be tailored. And I'd like you to look at this from a different perspective, because you as a job seeker, and being a job seeker is really frustrating. And sometimes you feel that you've applied to all the jobs on all the online platforms and all the job boards, and you don't get an interview or a call back or anything, or even a thank you. So as a job seeker, you face what we call the outsider problem, which means that many potential jobs are invisible to you. Depending on the industry, as many as 80% of jobs are not listed publicly. So if you think that you've applied to everything, you've only applied to 1 out of 5 positions. The other 4 positions are available to people inside the process or are in the process of being created. The people inside the industry know where they need help. And as an outsider, you can't see that. So how do you find this unlisted job? The answer was what I said previously: connect with people and opportunities on the inside job. You need to get into the conversations. You need to learn the stories about what jobs are available and if you can fit in. And you need to, speak their lingo. You need to talk more to these people in these industries, understand their values, understand their language. I mean, sometimes opportunities are generated on the spot based on interactions. So again, going back to networking and attending, industry events, speaker events, all this is valuable to you. And diversify. Don't just go to the same events all the time. Because talking to people inside the industry is the best way to discover or create opportunities. And this is also part of informational interviewing. So as a job seeker, I would like you to focus on being an offer seeker, not a job seeker. So, and focus on offer search, because many of the job descriptions are incomplete. So how often, you read a job description and it's really inaccurate or incomplete, and it does not represent the day-to-day nature of the role. So when you're pursuing a new career, look at the offers, not the jobs. So sometimes we read things like 5 to 7 years of experience, MBA, diligent hard worker, all these are generic things. They're written by the hiring manager or someone who really is not typically written, by the hiring manager or someone who understands the job. So don't rely on these because they don't reflect the actual job. When you're pursuing a new career, look at the offers, not the jobs. So do not rule out a company or an industry based only on the job description, because you will be rejecting a realm that you don't know about. So try to move beyond these first impressions and assumptions. And this requires an open mind, really, because sometimes you think that this job description does not match me. Why should I pursue it further? Look at it from a different perspective. Adopt a curious pursuit to learn more about the companies. Do these companies align with my values? Are their values aligned with mine? What do they offer? Explore their opportunities. Look for their offers. Do they have comprehensive offers? Do they have family days? Do they have, identify what these companies offer you, but don't look specifically at the job description, because quite often it's not a representation of what we're looking for. But always keep an open mind. That is my advice to you. And last but not least, try to follow up always. If you've sent an email to someone, it's okay to follow up on your email. If you've created a list, follow up on that list. See where you're, the progress that you're making. Try to think of that always in a way that, as I said, timely and measurable. So visit that sheet or visit that email or visit that company regularly to see how they're doing. And if you're following a certain company or a company on LinkedIn, see what they're doing. Are they job posting? Are they not? Send an email to someone of your contacts. Try to learn more about what they're doing and how they can help. And that's perfectly okay in a business context or in a professional context to follow up. Final takeaways. Again, I stress on written goals. Write them somewhere. Write your goals and post them somewhere where you can see them. This would help you, visual, to create a visual alignment so you can always see them and you will be reminded to always pursue them. The action plan or the workbook, the questions that they were in the first slide. So think about these questions and try to, find answers to them. And it's a good opportunity now to think about things that you want to do more of. Like, for instance, you would like to read more about a certain industry, or you would like to, I don't know, exercise. You would like to, whatever that you want to do more of, just do it. Things you would like to stop doing. It could be, I don't know, smoking, surrounding yourself with people who are not motivating you and who do not push you to pursue your goals. That could be something that you want to stop doing. And perhaps what you want to do more of is read books that interest you and books that would help you with your professional and career development. And last but not least, please find that 1 hour in your week to just spend it alone with your thoughts and reflect. Every week, reflect on what you're doing. Is what you're doing really matches up with your goal? Is it aligned with your future goals? What is it that you want to change? What is it that you would like to keep? So reflection is really good. Try to find that. I know it's with our busy schedules and you're doing the MBA and working, and some of you have families, it's going to be hard for you, but try to find that time to be alone and to think. And for those of you who have not registered to the careers platform, you should have received an email at the beginning of the semester for those who joined in January 2020 from the careers platform to join Simplicity and to create the username and the password. If you have not created or joined Simplicity yet, so please email global.careers@manchester.ac.uk. And if you have any queries or if you would like to discuss any of these jobs or strategies, please feel free to email me and we can have a one-to-one session about this. And finally, do you have any questions to me? If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Again, as I said, in the Simplicity or the Careers platform, you would have access to some career development resources. Some of these are the Vault, the MBA Exchange, the Career Leader, which has a lot of self-assessment tools, and a Passport Career. So to be registered, again, email global.careers@manchester.ac.uk. I recommend that you take self-assessment tools tests at least once every year to see how, because we change with time, and as we grow older, we change, our interests change. There will be certain things that are fixed, but sometimes our interests change, our skills change. So I would recommend that you know yourself more because it's going to help you to move to the next level. Recommended reading list. If you want to learn more about, how to make career changes and career plans, I would recommend some of these books. The Second Curve is really good. Pivot by Jenny Blake. The Shift is really also one of my favorite ones. The Future of Work is Already Here by Linda Adam. And these are some of the recommended readings. So if you have time, try to grab a read. Any questions? If you have any questions for me, please type them in the chat box. And if you have any suggestions, recommendations, also, again, type in the chat box or email me. I would love to hear more from you. We would love to do things that interest you and that is of matter or valuable to you. So let us know what you want. And we have really the flexibility to change depending on what you really want. The UK team, the Postgraduate Career Service in the UK, and I work together to deliver webinars which are of interest to you during your MBA program and afterwards. So if you have any topics that you would like us to talk about, please email us and let us know. Quick reminder for Tuesday's session on blockchain. So for those of you who have not registered, please register. We also have another session on the 11th of March. The session is about intelligent learning and competing in systemic chaos. The session in the 11th of March will be in the Jumeirah Emirates Towers Hotel, level 4 from 6 to 8 p.m. So please register, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday and also on the 11th of March. Again, if you have any questions, I'll just wait a couple of minutes to hear from you. And thank you again for attending, for taking the time to listen to today's webinar. All right, then. Thank you all so much for joining this session, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And I wish you all a very nice day, and I hope that you enjoy the lunch break, which I was part of. So thank you again, and see you soon. Thanks. Bye.